All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Holy cow, do we have a lot to get to.
Days or else we have Doge-related espionage complaints being filed by a former NLRB server guy, if I'm remembering that one correctly. Trump voters are pissed off that everything is becoming more expensive. Elon's eugenics sex cult. That one is a little bit intriguing. And then finally, we're going to dive into the constitutional crisis, which is Trump and his regime completely defying the Supreme Court over the release of Kilmar Abreu Garcia. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first clip here.
Hey, imagine getting an email over the weekend to tell you to leave the country immediately. That happened to a lot of folks across Boston. Not only people moving through the immigration process, but U.S. citizens as well.
I know that it didn't pertain to me because I'm a U.S. citizen.
Carmen Bello is talking about the notice she got this weekend from the Department of Homeland Security, stating boldly in the email, "It's time for you to leave the United States."
I believe it's a scare tactic. I know that psychologically, just seeing a letter like this saying you have to leave the country because you're here legally.
Bello has been...
All right, so hold on really quick, just to emphasize the point here. They are sending these letters out to people if they have a foreign-sounding last name, or they're essentially being targeted, even if they were born on U.S. soil. Let that sink in. They're technically considered American citizens, even though their parents are not, but that's how our Constitution works, whether you like it or not.
A U.S. citizen for decades after coming here from the Dominican Republic. Today she's been trying to calm down her clients as they're trying to figure out their next move in the immigration process. You're as American as apple pie.
I am. Yes, I've been here my whole life.
And it's not just immigrants getting notices. Attorney Nicole Micciarone has a U.S. passport, birth certificate, and driver's license to prove her citizenship, and she got the same message. Do not attempt to remain in the United States. The federal government will find you. Please depart the United States immediately.
Let this sink in. This is fascism right here. This is what we're seeing. They're rounding up people who have been here legally. It's similar to the case that we're having with Kilmar Abreu Garcia. Sought asylum legal. And we're going to dive into all of that later on, but I wanted to kind of it and just how sick this is.
Immigration attorneys like Bello and Micciarone now understand why they're getting these emails.
Administration is not paying attention when they're sending these emails because they are just sending to anyone that has an email in any of the paroles application. That's how I figure out that's the way they're doing it.
Bingo.
So we reached out to DHS to get an idea of the process of how these emails going out, and attorney Carmen Bello was right. DHS has admitted that some of these emails have gone to unintended recipients, and that has caused massive confusion.
What?
Hey, imagine getting an email.
I'm sorry, did they really just try to sit there and say some of these were unintended? I'm sorry, I'm calling bullshit on that one. I'm sorry, it really...
Fucking bullshit!
Exactly. So, this is not a good thing. What they are doing is royally screwing over people who have been here legally, have never been... people who were born here by parents of immigrants, and they are being told to self-deport. Where are they supposed to go? They don't know their country of where their parents were born. Are you people really that stupid, or are you that racist? Personally, I think it's a little column A and a little column B when it comes to these nitwits. But what do you expect when you're governed by morons? All right, we're going to take a quick break because this one's starting to piss me off. And when we come back, we will dive into the Doge-related espionage. Stay tuned.
It is central. We are going to dive in now to the Doge-related espionage. So let's get into it. It is central to authoritarian governance that the press must be shut down, beaten up, or cowed so that the public doesn't learn what the government is doing in any kind of reliable and ongoing way. I mean, again, to state the obvious, authoritarian governments do not exist to do what's best for the people. So they find that it's best that the people don't find out all that much about what they're up to. Therefore, the free press has to go. And in our case, in our experience, in this time that we are living through, one other way they've been able to hide or obscure a lot of what the government is doing is by doing so much of their work through this Doge thing, through this bizarre, semi-secret, semi-governmental operation that is both led by the president's top campaign donor, Elon Musk, and officially not led by Elon Musk at all. The ostensible purpose of this very opaque, very mysterious Doge organization is to cut spending from the government, right? I mean, it's clear.
For the record, this is something I need to chime in and add here. Remember the expectations, air quotes around the word expectations here. Elon saying we're going to find $2 trillion worth of fraud, or $2 billion. I forget the exact word on that one. Then it was down to like 1 million or 1 trillion or 1 billion. Then it was cut down again to 150 million. Yeah, they have not found jack shit.
That is not what they're doing, but that is how they have described the purpose of the organization. Elon Musk, the president's top campaign donor, said that at Doge he would cut $1 trillion out of the government's budget. Then he said he would cut $2 trillion out of the government's budget. Then as of last week, he said at an all for the cameras cabinet meeting that it would actually be about 92% less than that. It would be about $150 billion by next fiscal year that he and
Well, that's all right then.
Doge were going to cut. After that, the New York Times and other entities, other news organizations pointed out that Doge's accounting of that relatively tiny amount, that $150 billion, was itself riddled with errors. And there was no way that what they were claiming to have saved added up to anywhere near $150 billion. And then after that, they took down the government website that lists what the government is actually funding and cutting. And now they're being sued for taking that down. So the claims that Doge is all about cutting wasteful spending, cutting trillions of dollars out of government, those clearly aren't true. So what's Doge doing? If it's not cutting trillions of dollars out of the government, and it's really not, then what exactly is this very opaque and mysterious part of the government up to? What is Doge up to? What is it for?
Anybody have any guesses? Anybody? No? Well, let's take a look.
Well, as always, it is most helpful to watch what they do and not what they say.
Bingo.
And from the actions that we can observe of what Doge is doing, there's nothing about what they're doing that looks like government efficiency, right? So I think we can sort of set aside the pretext. We can set aside their claims about what they're doing, at least what they're trying to do. What are they really doing? What can we see about their activity to show us what they're doing and why? There are a few different sort of buckets that we can see in terms of what Doge is doing. And I would say the first bucket is them just breaking stuff. Right? The Social Security Administration broken. So they no longer.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're taking the title of the Limp Bizkit song "Break Stuff" a little too literally here.
Answer the phone, their website doesn't work, their field offices are totally overrun and non-functional, breaking Social Security agency. The IRS, they're doing the same, just breaking the agency. Today's April 15th, today's tax day. We'll see how well this tax season works out. Same with student loans. They shut down the education department and its handling of federal student loans. They moved student loans randomly to the Small Business Administration, which is not at all equipped to handle it. Now nobody's answering the phones, or they
Probably because Linda McMahon is too busy focusing on A1.
email, and the websites don't work on student loans. Nobody knows what's happening to their student loans. So that's one sort of category of what we can see them doing. That's bucket one, right? They are breaking stuff. Bucket two, they are slashing stuff out of the government that they appear to not even understand.
You proposed more than $11 billion in cuts to local and state programs addressing things like infectious disease, mental health, addiction, and childhood vaccination. Did you personally approve those cuts?
No, I'm not familiar with those cuts. We'd have to go. We'd have to go.
There's like more than 50 pages of cuts that I actually went through.
The cuts were mainly DEI cuts, which the president.
There were a lot, but I'll give you, for example, about 750.
Oh my God. Okay. I cannot take RFK Jr. seriously. And trust me, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with him. Hopefully on Monday.
$50,000 of a University of Michigan grant
That's when I'll get to it.
and into adolescent diabetes was cut. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, and that's something that we'll look at.
I didn't know that. We cut what? We cut what?
I don't know anything about those cuts. Did you run them by Cheryl? Did you run them by her? She would have entered it in my nose. I forgot my notes. Excuse me, Mr. Interview Person. I gotta go get my notes.
I mean, you didn't cut that. Who cut it? Oh, was that Doge? Part of what Doge appears to be doing is cuts that nobody has asked for and nobody can defend. I mean, here's Kennedy at HHS saying, "Ooh, we cut adolescent diabetes research? That sounds terrible. That doesn't sound like something I'd do. I better look into that. Yeah, my dude, that's supposedly something you did."
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Did? What? Better look into that. I mean, the same goes with the cuts to, now famously, Ebola response and prevention. Oops, we didn't mean to cut that. And the people who handle our nuclear weapons. Oops, didn't mean to cut that. I mean, the same goes presumably with the cuts to the firefighters' cancer registry, which Donald Trump himself created. That just...
Okay, let that one sink in. This was one of the few things Trump did that was actually good, and I will give him credit for that, while also factoring he had actually sane people around him at the time. But this was one of the few good things that's come out of his first term. And notice how we're not getting any good thing at all this go-around. That's because he surrounded himself with lapdog fucking loyalists who are more than happy to fondle his balls whenever Bill Maher is unavailable.
got cut. Did Donald Trump want to cut that? Who knows?
And he probably didn't, because that was one of the few good things he actually ever fucking did. So, thanks, Elon.
These cuts, they just, I don't know, they sort of make themselves. So there's them breaking stuff. There's them cutting stuff that they don't even appear to know they are cutting. The third bucket, I think, is stuff they do mean to cut, and they're quite gleeful about it. Things like, HIV prevention. They're delighted to.
Another thing really quick is also how they fire federal employees only to have to bring them back because they realize, oops, our bad, you actually control our nukes. Oops, our bad, you're actually kind of important. Oops, our bad, you're actually worth something. This is the level of incompetence we are fucking dealing with here.
To cut that, libraries, museums, the part of the National Highway Transportation Safety Board that oversees the self-driving cars at Elon Musk's Tesla company. Yeah,
and there it is. That's the one. For those of you thinking Elon is all for safety, all I have to say is...
You fucking mark!
You bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Delighted to get rid of all that sort of stuff. So these are just all the things that we can observe, right? We can observe them smashing stuff up so it doesn't work, cutting stuff that they don't understand and that maybe isn't even on purpose. We do see them cutting stuff on purpose as well. But now we're getting to what I think of as the really heavy part of it, the really heavy part of this authoritarian project. Because some of the stuff that they have been doing that has seemed inexplicable is starting to become explicable, is starting to become understandable. Because part of what we are now seeing, this many weeks into this administration, is that when it has appeared that they're just messing with various agencies or trying to access various data systems within agencies, it's not a pointless rummaging that they are doing there. It's not just rummaging around in there and flipping switches and seeing what breaks. Part of what is now emerging is that they've been in these government systems because they're trying to use the government to hurt people as much as they can. So, for example, it turns out they were messing with all the information on international students in a government database so they could target individual international students to snatch them off the street and arrest them and throw them in immigration prisons.
Or ship them off to El Salvador. That's something we have seen. We have also seen them snatch up people for writing op-eds critical of Trump. We have seen them snatch up college protesters because they demand that Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu stop their genocide, their ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. If they wanted to go after Hamas, that's one thing. I'm all for just going after Hamas. But if you're going to be targeting innocent civilians for collective punishment, fuck you. And Ben Glebe, if you don't like that, you can suck my balls.
It turns out they were messing with sensitive systems inside the IRS and the Treasury, at least in part, so they could use that data to go after immigrants as well. Turns out they were messing with sensitive systems inside the Social Security Administration because they have taught themselves that one way you can really destroy people's lives in this country is if you take the names of living people and declare them dead inside the...
And that's what they've been doing. Oh, we found fraud. No, you've been taking money away from people who actually need it, who paid into it through their taxes. That's what you idiots have been doing.
The Social Security Administration. And now on top of that, As we have been watching the actions of this government, and particularly the opaque, hard-to-parse actions of this Doge entity that has been set up under the auspices of the president's top campaign donor, and none of us are allowed to know what they're doing, as we've been trying to figure out what they're actually doing and why, we've now got a brand new set of allegations that we've never encountered before. And if these allegations are true, they suggest an apparently sort of a new sort of bucket, a new type of behavior from these guys that we are only learning about today, thanks to a whistleblower in IT who has the technical skills to actually see what they're doing and who has now come forward to Congress.
All right, so let me switch over to the next video.
Letter to Congress released today by the nonprofit group Whistleblower Aid about a whistleblower who's just come forward named Daniel Barulis. Quote, Mr. Barulis is coming forward today because of his concern he has and continues to expose our government to foreign intelligence and our nation's adversaries. This declaration details Doge activity within the National Labor Relations Board, the exfiltration of data from NLRB systems, and concerningly, near real-time access by users in Russia. Notably,
it's espionage. It's legit fucking espionage. Get it now? You get it yet, MAGA?
within minutes of Doge personnel creating user accounts in NLRB systems, on multiple occasions, someone or something within Russia attempted to log in using all of the valid credentials, usernames, and passwords. This, combined with verifiable data being systematically exfiltrated to unknown servers within the United States and perhaps abroad, merits investigation. Joining us now is NLRB whistleblower Daniel Barulis and his attorney, Andrew Bakay. Mr. Barulis, Mr. Bakay, I really appreciate you being here. I'm sure this is a stressful time for both of you and a stressful experience being on national TV talking about it. I really appreciate your trust to do this.
Thank you for having us on.
So, Mr. Barulis, let me ask you about some of the pushback that we've had here. NLRB said in a statement that Doge didn't access National Labor Relations Board data. They said that Doge never had access specifically even to the building in which National Labor Relations Board is housed. What's your response to that statement from the agency? We're having a hard time sort of making heads or tails of it.
I totally get that. I think it's an initial knee-jerk reaction. The truth is it was almost immediate after they got notice of this. There's not going to be corroborating evidence like I presented that they're going to be able to present to back up these. What I did is I tried to prove the negatives along the way, and I compartmentalized the investigation. So as part of this, I definitely was careful to not say anything that wasn't true or include anything that I couldn't back up with secondary sources. And so I think if we can get the right people in here for transparency, I would absolutely love it if I was wrong about this. It's just we need other people. We need real forensic analysis, and that's what we were trying to do with the cert.
And that goes back to what we requested, which is an independent investigation, because again, Dan provided not only what he saw, but the forensic details to back up his concerns. And so part and parcel of an investigation is to, of course, speak to others, and there will be other individuals who will be able to corroborate what Dan saw.
All right, so really quick, just think about what type of stress this man is under. Having to come forward with all of this. There's no other way to put that. We are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. Not just with the Trump regime defying the courts, but also Elon, the world's richest robber baron, and his band of incel groiper hackers between the ages of 19 and 25. They are the ones going around getting all this information, and they'll spell it out a little bit more in detail than what I'm going to be able to do here. They created these backdoor channels to go in, get information, and then a bunch of foreign actors are now trying to get into the fucking servers too. They'll explain that in more detail here.
Dan, in terms of what you witnessed, you presented this screenshot showing what appears to be a large surge in data leaving the agency. For people who aren't familiar with what the NLRB does and what kind of data that might be, what is the sensitivity of the kinds of data that's housed in NLRB systems? What worries you about that potentially being exfiltrated to parts unknown?
Sure, absolutely. So what we're looking at there in the picture is the outgoing data out of our internal network. There's also a correlating spike in the outgoing data from the database that houses our internal case data. So things like proprietary company secrets, union organizer names, private affidavits of unfair labor practice complaints. These are things that traditionally would be kept in the judicial system behind lock and key, and not anything to do with efficiency for sure.
why would the security systems that protect the secrecy and the sort of sanctity of that data ever be disabled? Is there a sort of good faith reason that somebody would allow insecure mobile devices to access that data, or remove multi-factor authentication for people who are trying to access those data? Those security systems being disabled within NLRB systems, to me, just seem completely inexplicable. At least they don't seem like the sort of thing that could be done in a good faith sort of way. But am I missing something? Is that something that IT professionals do for other reasons?
No, you're absolutely correct. They're considered indicators of compromise. And the people that I work with are very meticulous. They're borderline OCD, and these aren't mistakes that I've ever seen them make before. So for all these controls to be off, in a small amount of time, it doesn't speak.
They only hire the best and the finest, is what he's saying there, in case that's lost on anyone.
To being accidental.
Once you and your colleagues decided, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Mackay.
No, and one of the things I also want to point out to, because you did an outstanding job, Rachel, in going over exactly how foreign intelligence likely was able to try and access NLRB databases. This is more than just the NLRB. Dan is here because he's been brave enough to come forward with what he saw, what he witnessed, what he can actually establish through forensic data. We have heard from others there are many people like Dan, but who are afraid to come forward. And we've also heard that in addition to how these systems were being treated by Doge within NLRB, what we've also seen is that these systems were also connected to Starlink. Now, why is Starlink critical? Starlink is critical because the information that flows through Starlink goes directly to Russia.
Now, here's another thing to consider. After the 2024 presidential election was called, and this is what I keep seeing in the social media circles, I am not going to endorse it, but I find it intriguing to the point where I need to bring this up. There are reports from people on the left who have said that after the 2024 presidential election, there have been Starlink satellites that have literally been destroyed. Why? Why would that be? Something to think about. Now, do I believe they interfered or did something in the election? There's no concrete evidence, so that's why I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry, I'm just not. There's no evidence to back that up. But I do think it's a little interesting that Starlink is another aspect of this here.
What has happened was back in last year, the Department of Defense has stopped using Starlink in any way, shape, or form because that is viewed as a direct pipeline there. And this is something that is also being seen in other agencies, not just NLRB. The other thing that's really concerning is that, and I don't want to say that this was done intentionally, it could be done unintentionally by accident by those who are working within Doge, which is they have allowed certain specific critical infrastructure in other agencies, such as within the Department of Energy, where you have nuclear regulatory agencies overseeing our nuclear stockpile, et cetera, where that's been now opened to the open internet. So critical infrastructure throughout the country has unfortunately been provided access to the open internet, which means our foreign adversaries, like Russia, can and may have access to all of that. So the way that I would frame this is that what Dan is seeing and what others like Dan are seeing within our government is that this is like Chernobyl and them seeing the control systems light up post-meltdown. This is where we are.
Let me be clear on the issue of foreign access to NLRB systems. What you saw, Dan, is a Russian IP address. So you can spoof an IP address. It could be somebody pretending to be in Russia and not actually being there. Attempting to log into these systems in very close proximity to the time that Doge was creating, Doge, as you say, was creating accounts in order to access these systems. But there's no proof of who that was or if, in fact, that was a foreign intelligence service or even a foreign actor, right? It was just a Russian IP address, right?
So there are some caveats, but to the effect, yes, it was the same geolocation multiple times, and it's just one of the small factors that adds up to the bigger picture. You have 40 or 50 of these indicators, and the bigger picture becomes clear.
Bigger picture being that it looks a lot like espionage. Now, right about here is where I'd say we need to launch an investigation, but who's going to do the investigating? Pam Bondi runs the DOJ. Kash Patel runs the FBI. Those branches of the Justice Department and FBI, they are in the back pocket hit of Casino Mussolini. So, how is there going to be a proper investigation into this? There isn't. unfortunately, which is a fucking shame, because this is the time where we actually need checks and balances, and the system is failing us miserably.
Let me ask you about the threat that you received, Dan. You and your colleagues at NLRB had decided to pursue a formal investigation into what you regarded as a breach of the data and systems at your agency. You prepared a request to CISA at the Department of Homeland Security to help you with that investigation. And then you received a threat at your home where you live?
Where I hadn't lived for too long either. I've only been there 2 months. The only place that I've actually updated that address is in the OPM database for my payroll with government. That's really, I haven't even updated my bank card yet. So.
Oh my God. That's mafia Nazi shit. Let me rewind that a little bit so you guys can fully hear them. A little bit more. There we go. And turn this up all the way. All right.
Help you with that investigation. And then you received a threat at your home where you live?
Where I hadn't lived for too long either. I've only been there 2 months. The only place that I've actually updated that address is in the OPM database for my payroll with government. That's really, I haven't even updated my bank card yet. So.
Can you tell us about the character of the threat?
I think it was vague enough to not be. I
can jump in there for Dan, because this is actually quite difficult for him to talk about because it is quite personal. So this is a letter who somebody had drafted about Dan that can only be obtained through, for example, internal databases within the government. Because it's not anything we've had individuals conduct an investigation. We've had our own investigative team conduct an investigation to see whether or not any of this is really easily accessible online, and it's not. And so there's information that very few individuals will know, can be something that was submitted to the government on SF-86, a security clearance background investigation, etc. And the fact that he's only been at this residence for 2 months or less. We have that. We have the fact that somebody literally figured out where he lives, taped this note to his door, and flew a drone above him while he was walking his dog. I mean, I've only seen this once or twice in the years where I've represented whistleblowers or conducted investigations like this. When I saw this made me pause and get concerned about Dan and what's going on. And this is pure and simple witness and whistleblower intimidation, because this came forward before we even filed anything with the government, which means that somebody was monitoring his use of systems within the government, which for me is an indicator as to where this is coming from. And the funny thing is that this was clearly done to intimidate him, to stop him from coming forward, but it didn't. And the reason why Dan came forward is not just to ensure that the truth comes out, but that other folks like him have the courage to come forward, because a lot of people believe or think that something is amiss, that this is happening within our agencies, within our government. But guess what? It is. And we have the evidence to establish that, and we need other people to come forward, because you know what? And one of my colleagues has said this once in the past, and it's so true. Courage is contagious. And this is in part why Dan is here speaking with you today, not behind a silhouette or a screen, but directly to you today and to everybody, so that way we can hear what's actually happening.
Really think about that for just a second. Only somebody with access to that server could have known where he was living. For only 2 months, mind you. And they're sending threats to try to silence him from exposing whatever illegal shit is going on here. This needs to be amplified by 1,000. Now, do I have faith in other mainstream media outlets talking about this? Fuck no. Do I have any faith that TYT, Jake and Anna are going to talk about it? Fuck no. They're too busy kissing Trump's ass. So, these times are dark. These times are dark. I should have named this episode that. These times are dark. All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Trump voters are fucking pissed. Stay tuned. Give me just a second to get this one going. So, we have news coming out from South Dakota voters.
I want a trip. You want a trip? Yep. There was
live streams, folks. So what ended up happening is we have South Dakota voters who are pissed off with Donald Trump and his trade war. I want to dive into this is the first time I'm actually watching the clip in full because I wanted to keep the reaction raw and in the moment. So let's get into it.
I want a trip. You want a trip? Yep. There was no way in hell I wanted her out there. But now I don't know what would have been better. What were you expecting? I was expecting the lower cost of a lot of just your everyday living things and hoping that he would make things better for everybody in America because that's what we need. Groceries are already outrageous. And then we put the tariffs on across the seas or whatever, like China, all that. It just makes everything more expensive for everybody.
Jamie Basinger is the only person we met in eastern South Dakota who openly questioned her own political views. Most people we talked to said it was risky to talk about politics here, even as the effects of Trump's tariffs loomed over the agricultural economy in an area that voted for him by about 70%. Generally, opinions were divided between trust Trump's plan and how can you still like this guy.
I like the fact that they ended up getting a close-up of that sign. Hold on, I want that. Snipping tool. There it is. One second. There we go. All right. Now, the reason I wanted that was because I share the exact same sentiment. I'm pro-America. I'm anti-whiny little bitch. So, do with that what you will. But it's legitimately how I feel. Now, as far as all the tariffs and stuff go, we had tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off. Max tariffs! They're off again. And we're excluding electronics because tariffs are back on again. Back and forth like a bipolar lunatic.
Wait, so Becky, let me ask one thing.
Are you in a politically mixed marriage?
Yeah, did you see the Joe Biden sign? Like talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Becky.
All right, so you're mad at the guy who was willing to give farmers money for Trump's first term fuck up? I'm trying to follow your logic.
Hofer was not afraid to talk. She's a Democrat, and her husband is a conservative non-voter. She's a freight broker. Basically, if a company needs to ship bricks, she'll find you a flatbed truck. If you need to ship meat, she'll get you a refrigerated truck.
Ooh, you need the truck tomorrow? Can you guys, like, fork a pallet jack into the back of the trailer for him to pallet jack him to the front?
This gives her a window into real-time shifts in the economy.
Everybody's nervous. People are making different decisions for different reasons, but, you know, some of it's hesitation, some of it's actual price changes. Everybody just wants some stability right now.
And so far, we've had nothing but instability. Meat prices have gone up. We have seen prices go up on dairy. Egg prices are at an all-time high. And think about this. The main reason why Trump won the election by 1.4% of the vote, which is not a mandate, by the way. I know how they like to spin it as one. It's not. A mandate would be Reagan's wide margin of victory. So, sorry, it's not a mandate. Because when you add up everybody who voted for Kamala, Jill Stein, and whoever the other candidates were, I think Cornel West was one of them, more people voted against Trump than for him. And I did the math, and I wish I had the index card I wrote all that on with me. But it's not a mandate. I'm sorry, it's not. If you don't like it, too bad.
Shifts can be complex. She says China's retaliatory tariffs on American pork and beef could lead to higher prices on fruit.
Right now it's produce season in California. We need to get out to California. What goes out to California? Meat. We haul pork. We haul beef. Where does it go? It goes to Asia. If it doesn't go, the price of produce is going to go up even that much more. Because
now, think about this for just a second. China now has deals with Europe to get their meat from there. So these farmers got fucked hard without any lubricant, by the way. They got fucked hard in this on-again, off-again trade war. This is ending badly for them. I cannot stress that enough. It is not ending well for them.
Because they're going to have to pay more for the trucks.
You know, as we've talked about, you're in a really conservative area, very pro-Trump area. Like, do you feel frustrated in trying to talk to your neighbors about what's going on?
I live in a very pro-Trump area too, girl. I know the pain. Luckily, my neighbors across the street are also sharing ideological views with me.
Yeah, you know, it's the biggest thing that frustrates me is that I just feel like nobody cares right now until it affects them. And I don't understand how they don't see that. They're not dumb. These people.
And that's a major problem. It's also a hallmark if you're in a fucking cult, which MAGA is a death cult. And you know what? I'm just going to dive into that one when we get to the final story, because it'll make more sense there instead of trying to bring it up here.
And they're not unkind people and selfish people and thoughtless people, so I don't understand why they're okay with it.
Hofer introduced us to her neighbor Rod Olerud, who is feeding cattle and who, for now, is okay with it.
I just think we need to let the president do what he's doing, and we need to just see what's going to happen here and give him a little latitude so that, you know, if it doesn't work, then we're going to have to try something different.
Okay.
Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. Fine, this is me getting pissed off with Hakeem Jeffries and his lack of leadership and balls all over again. My God.
So you're willing to let the president try some stuff to see?
Yes, to see if this works. Let's give the president a chance, and we'll just have to go from there. Looks like a little boy.
Tommy Baruth thinks we already give it a chance. He's a retired soybean farmer who saw what happened in 2018 when Trump put tariffs on China.
The export market just went right down the tubes because these countries could buy them from other places cheaper. Brazil and other countries were the ones that benefited from that.
I read that.
Bingo. Bingo. I just touched on this. China and other countries can strike up trade relations with European countries. They can totally bypass the U.S. and fuck farmers here in the U.S. And that's what's happening right now. Thank fucking Christ this guy actually pays attention. Dude, you just gave me just a sliver of hope for humanity. Thank you.
It stayed that way that now China buys a lot more from Brazil.
Exactly. And a lot of times those markets don't come back.
Doug Bjerke runs a lawn mowing business. He says Trump's plan will work out in the long term, even if some crop prices fall.
Yeah, the price might come down, but when them people start starving, they're going to come back to the table.
You mean the other countries?
Yeah, we're a gracious nation feeding the world. And
oh my God, that's delusional. That is delusional. I understand you're trying to pray. Oh God, please, I want this, that, and the other. I know you're trying to pray for that, but I don't see it happening. I really don't. I really don't see that happening.
and we shouldn't have to without getting something for it.
Rick Ekman says in the 3 days after the tariffs, cattle futures dropped below the point of break even for his farm.
Maybe he really likes you.
No.
Did you vote for Trump?
No. No, I did not.
Why not?
You want me to be truthful? I think to get to where he's at today, he's stepped on people, and he's got no morals, I don't think. I don't like the man. I don't like it.
Why do you think?
I'm sorry. I gotta rewind that. I couldn't hear what he said.
You want me to be truthful? I think to get to where he's at today, he's stepped on people, and he's got no morals, I don't think. I don't like the man. I don't like it.
He's stepped on people. Yeah, he stepped on his contractors by not paying them. He stepped on his workers by not paying them. And this is what you're saying here. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ.
Why do you think so many of your neighbors do support
I don't know. I guess I don't see anything good about him.
Does it affect the way you think about America?
It scares me.
Terry Nebelsick, a lifelong Republican and retired school superintendent, was very careful in how he talked about the political climate. He's concerned that Trump's push to dissolve the Department of Education will cut public school funds for needy kids, potentially at a time of economic turmoil.
If poverty is happening to adults, children are hurting. And where adults sometimes just have to work through it and make sure there's food on the table. During that time, we have children and adolescents who are forming who they're going to be, and I do think that the public school is a collecting point for people to be able to reach those kids and make sure that they're fed and have medical attention and have their basic needs met.
All right, so really quick to touching released way before the election was even decided, that they were hell-bent on completely destroying the Department of Education. Who better than a woman who was tombstoned by someone who, along with her husband, started taking bumps in their 40s? Why she's confusing AI with A1? Really? We're wondering that now? It's almost like she has brain damage and shouldn't even be anywhere near the Department of Education, yet along the fact she's not even qualified. So that's just my opinion, but what do I know? According to MAGA, I'm a moron, when in actuality, they're the idiots who keep propping this up and supporting every single fascist move. they were hell-bent claiming Biden was starting wars, yet we have Trump literally threatening wars with Canada, Mexico, Greenland, Panama. Excuse me. And then we also have trying to start wars with several other countries. They want a war with Iran. He pledged to finish the job, the genocide over in Gaza. And they're saying he's anti-war. They're saying he's anti-war. Come on, Jank, you too. You were even saying, hey, oh, he's a real populist. He's not, you dumb-ass motherfucker. He is not a real populist. He is a fascist. He wants imperialism. What part of this don't you people get? He doesn't give a flying fuck about anyone. And why is he attacking the arts? Why is he attacking education? Why is he attacking all of these institutions? Oh, right, because an educated populace is a danger for a tyrant, for a dictator. That is what this is all about. Now, as far as the farm and trade wars are concerned, we tried warning you. Joe Biden, to his credit, actually did give you guys money to upgrade farms, and then Trump did away with the program because I'm guessing Sugar Daddy Elon told him to. And this is the end result that we are seeing in this clip. You reap what you sow, unfortunately. And really, for those of you who are actually waking up and realizing you fucked up and regret your vote and regret hurting others, I actually have empathy for you. If you're sitting there going, they should have been attacking these people and not me, there's no hope for you. And if you're just going to sit there and go on and whine and moan and complain, well, I guess MJF was right when he said this.
You fucking mark!
You bought it hook, line, and sinker. All right, we're going to take a break. The call. Stay tuned. So this is based off a new report from The Independent that I talk about, and I actually found this really disturbing and interesting and felt this needed to be amplified. So, with that said, this is actually based off a Wall Street Journal article. Give me just a second to get this adjusted so we can get more of it to fit on the screen. That should work, I think. We'll go with that. And I actually forgot real quick before we start reading into this. Make sure, if anybody's watching this, because for whatever reason my live control panel's not showing up today in OBS, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. There we go. Just let that little guy play as we talk about this story. All right. So, inside Musk's plan to make a legion of babies and get to Mars to save civilization while paying moms to keep richest robber baron. There, I did the correction for you to the person who did this, who wrote this in The Independent. How Ashley Sinclair found herself caught drama. Elon Musk has a plan to populate the world with more babies of high intelligence. Given he surrounds himself with a bunch of inbred moron Groiper hackers, I highly doubt he's finding the best and the brightest. Just gonna go ahead and just put that out there. And it's all part of his wider mission to one day occupy Mars to save civilization. Oh, for fuck's sake, we're still on this. That is according to an explosive report by the Wall Street Journal about the world's richest man and how MAGA influencer Ashley Sinclair found herself caught up in his harem drama. Sinclair, 26, went public with her claims that she and Musk shared a child in February. Now, she has claimed that the billionaire offered her a one-time payment of $15 million plus $100,000 a month until her child turns 21 in exchange for her silence. So, right off the bat, this is creepy as fuck. It really is. I'm sorry, but it is. And she rejected the offer, saying, quote, "I don't want my son to feel like he's a secret." This is what she ended up telling Elon's little fixer, Jared Birchall, who runs Musk's family office. The fact that he has a family office, though, that oh, for God's sake. Sinclair claimed that Musk had used his wealth to silence some of the other women who had his children, according to the report. Musk, who has at least 14 children with 4 women, previously maintained that he does not know for sure whether Sinclair's child is his, but the probability of the paternity is 99.99. It's fucking yours. It's your fucking kid. And for God's sake, it's your kid. If it's 99.99999, put a line over it to show it it's just going to continue. Yeah, it's your goddamn kid. It's your goddamn kid. Owe up to it. Quit being a fucking man-child. Musk has 4 children: Strider, Azure, Arcadia, and Selden. What the fuck type of name is that? He must hate his kids. With Neuralink executive Siobhan Zillis, as well as 3 what type of names? Dude, lay off the sci-fi. Trust me, I like my Doctor Who references every now and again. God damn it, I thought I had this pulled up just for this line. I like my Doctor Who references, but you don't always see me going around saying this.